Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and hello to all my dear students. Welcome to AIMS Online Education Center. Today we are discussing an important theory. In the previous lecture, I will teach you about the leadership and characteristic of leadership, as well as I give you a brief introduction about the leadership study we are going to study in our this semester. So here is the first theory and detail, and that theory name is great man theory. What does meant by great man? Great men, those men which inspired, those men which encourage, and those men which have specific inherited traits, qualities, and abilities toward the other people get attract to him or her. Basically, we in the great man theory, we are only gender specific, we are only gender dominant, and that is only that gender which we occupy or give space in this leadership is about man. That's why this series name stand for great man theory. It is also called granddaddy concept of leadership, and as well as the leadership adopt the belief of leader. Basically, there are two assumptions of this leadership theory, very short and but very enhanced. The first assumption of this theory is leaders are born with certain traits that enable them to rise and lead. If you have no specific trait, no specific characteristic which help you to influence other people, then you are not great man, then you are not great leader. These specific traits are intrinsic, no rather than extrinsic. I already teach you about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation in the motivation lectures, right? Management. And further, leader motivation as well as followers motivation are also part of our outline. So here you discuss intrinsic are those that is innate qualities, innate characteristic, right? So the innate characteristic are those which are given by your nature, right? Which are you in nature, which are your in genes, in bone. So there is no need to develop those characteristics. That's why this leadership theory, a great debate in the past, leaders are born, not made. The second assumption of this theory is great leader will arise when there is a great need. The leader at 19th century consider when there is need a person who have certain qualities, certain inherited traits, certain capabilities and abilities which specify them to other crowd is called great man or called great leader. Great leader will rise in appropriate situation. There is need of situation. You can also set this theory, great man theory. The number one is granddaddy concept. The second number is you call great man theory. The third step is you said that leaders are born, and the most important is situation. If there is a situation, then a great man will rise and influence to other people. And if the situation has doesn't arise, there is no leadership, there is nothing, right? So here we are talking about the which characteristic or abilities are required for the for becoming to great men or great leaders. There are certain characteristics. There are certain characteristics, right? So here is the characteristic. First is inherited traits. Inherited traits are about speaking, public speaking, basically, and as well as charisma. They have charisma, so which people attracted, as well has great amount of intelligence required to becoming a great man or great leader. Then you have wisdom more than the other people you are influencing or follow up as a leader, right? And social skills, you have a great command on social skill as well as political skill, because in that time there are three types of leader. I will always in the next slide show about which are the types, so which consider people consider them as a leader, as considered as a great man. and significant historical impact. In the history also they have a leadership, certain leadership traits through which become a great man. After that, motivate follower to be an accurate thinker. If you do not motivate, do not inspire your follower, then you are not an accurate thinker. The followers will not achieve the required or specific tasks. And a question arises in your mind, then who are the great leaders? The great leaders are basically divided into three dimension, three ways. First category is about religious leader, either imam, popes, and uh, monks. Basically, monks had military leaders, right? Like Hitler, all right, and political leaders like Muhammad Ali Jinnah, like John Abraham, like Martin Luther King, and as well as Nelson Mandela. These are the 19 history best leaders considered, right? And after that, criticism of the great man theory. There are lot of criticism and as well as limitation of the great man theory, which should after criticism there is a need of a new theory which have some certain traits, certain assumption that differentiate and uh, below the concept of criticism, right? Herbert Spencer, Herbert Spencer are noted philosophers, sociologists, biologists, and political theorists of Victorian era encountered a great man, right? Who is Herbert Spencer? And what does the Victorian era? Victorian era is basically about when the Queen Victoria is leading the nation, right? After that, he believed leaders were product of their environment or society which they live. He educated that before a great man can remark his society, that society can make him, right? So there is a need to that environment or society in which they live, and that characteristic, that ability mark them from the other. There is Herbert Spencer and Victorian era. He is said that this series was childish and unscientific because there is no need. If you have no qualities, no social uh, speaking skill, no charisma, then you will not lead. This is the childish. He is right, because at in this era we are living, there are two mainly theories which are considering. One is transformational leadership, other is transactional leadership. These two theories have a large variety of the concept and the phenomena which distinguish them from their. According to recent theories, this theory is basically childish. I also agree that. Also, Tolstoy is one of the most popular author of all time, rejected the idea of great man. He always rejected this idea because this theory is based on only on imaginations, he said, and there is a mere thinking, nothing in reality, right? If people have certain other thing through which they lead, and he said the illusion of power that influence others, right? There is nothing more thing. After that, there is a certain limitation of these theories. Limitations, first two limitation is basically based on, it's based on myth, not in reality, not even little knowledge. If you think, when a leader born, when a child is born, there is a stem on their forehead which state that the leader know what are these things. So leaders are made according to the required of the society, organization, and sectors, right? It does not consider external environment situation that often influence human behavior and attitudes. And if they all are born, leaders are born in 90s, so when you are compared to the external environment, the charisma, the social skills, the intelligence, the wisdom, if a leader have doesn't have these four characteristics, So why you are considering then you are a leader, right? Those innate qualities have, how those innate qualities you influence to the external environment, so there is a limitation. After that, we have another limitation. There is no guarantee of person which eventually leadership quality will eventually become a successful leader. Leadership qualities have some other qualities, abilities, as well as you said that the skills you required and transformation for you to be to be a leader, right? And the major flaw and limitation of this series gender specific, so which the leaders are only man, no male leaders, no female, no gender, they are not considered as later. So great person replaced by man theory, right? So each human being is equal and there is nothing different from the others except gender. So they clear the phenomena of gender. So here is your great man theory complete. If you are like my video, don't forget to subscribe. And if you have any query related to great man theory, and if you deny my concept of great man theory, you can put a comment and I